Hey YouTube, it's EvanMagician34, and I've got an old deck reborn for this new format. It's gotten a lot of cool advantages that you're about to see. It's my old book burning deck. For those of you who don't know what book burning is, it's basically a burn deck that revolves around Book of Eclipse and recycling flip effects and whatnot. But I'll let it speak for itself. First off, we're running 3 Dekoichi, the Battle Channel Locomotive. Flip, draw a card. Real simple, real good. We're also running 3 copies of Death's Koala. Flip, 400 damage for every card in their hand, and 1800 defense. You'd be surprised how many people he can repel in combat. 2 copies of Mask of Darkness. We could run more, but 2 is usually sufficient. More can get in your way. You don't run as many traps as you might think. He's just good for retrieving key traps. So anyway, just 2 Mask of Darkness. 1 copy of Morphing Jar. This guy's power to restock your hand after you set almost everything out of it is amazing. This guy can often just win you the game by himself. We are running 1 copy of Marshmallow. He burns your opponent when he gets hit while face down, obviously, in combat. And it can stop him. It's not so important to stop the attack, really. But we do have 1 person who can do it, just in case. But for the most part, you actually don't need him as much as you'd think. It's mostly just the burn. 3 copies of Swift Scarecrow. We're running this guy over Battle Fader, mainly because they can't warn this guy. This guy's almost completely unstoppable, and he protects you when your opponent tries to break through with things like Heavy Storm. And those are all the monsters, believe it or not. As I implied earlier, we are running 3 copies of Book of Eclipse. It turns everything on the field face down, and at the end of the turn, every monster your opponent has on the field face down automatically turns face up, but keeps its position. And they draw a card for each, even if they got set some other way or something like that. These effects will even stack if you have to, but basically this can restock your opponent's hand while simultaneously resetting your monsters for gaining off their flip effects. And we run ways to take advantage of them drawing cards. Very few cards that they draw will actually be directly threatening to you because you got so much control for their attacks and stuff. So it's really not as dangerous as you might think to let them draw. It's more dangerous for them because you run cards like Secret Barrel. We are running the 1 copy of Book of Moon where allowed, because it also sets things face down. It can also be used to control your opponent in a pinch, but in this deck mostly you want to use it on your own guys. We're running 3 copies of Pot of Duality, and there's no excuse for not having these now. You can easily afford, in case you have 2 in your opening hand or something like that, you can afford the extra turn to get it. Look through your top 3 and then get one you like. You don't special summon in this deck almost ever, so this card has virtually no drawback for you. Just a no-brainer. We are running Level Limit Area B. It's still a very good, solid control card. You can just plop right out of your hand. And even though they have Storm and 3 MSTs, I guarantee you it won't be enough. Because for another thing the ban list did for us, it gave us access to 2 copies of Swords of Revealing Light. Just a good, solid stop. And people don't always destroy this because they figure they can just wait it out. And even though you can't True Nade it back now or anything, it's still very powerful to wait those 3 turns and get all that extra ammo and reset yourself. Dark Hole, because destroying things slows your opponents down. 3 copies of one of the most singularly powerful burn cards ever, Wave Motion Cannon. Once again, no-brainer, and it's just one more thing. They have to choose what they're going to MST. Although what you play and when and what you set to your back row, playing correctly has a lot to do with your success with this deck. If you just automatically set everything and don't have a way to protect it, you can easily lose out to a well-timed Storm. So you do have to be somewhat prudent about your plays, I guess you should say. 1 copy of Torrential Tribute. It's Trap Speed Dark Hole. And 1 more gift from the ban list is 3 copies of Gravity Bind. It's the you don't know what's coming until you attempt to enter your battle phase version of Level Limit, essentially. And yes, Xyz monsters can get through it, but there's rarely more than 1 Xyz monster, and it's just a vanilla beatstick most of the time, at least for now when I post this. So it's still very powerful for stopping big onslaughts. We are running 1 copy of Solemn Judgment, obviously. It just negates the Storm or whatever else. This is one of your best answer cards. We're running 1 copy of Starlight Road. This stops Heavy Storm, this stops Black Rose Dragon, it can stop Dark Hole if you need, and get you a Stardust Dragon that's going to give you a negation for an MST or something like that. So quite good. You don't want more than 1 because they'll clog up on you, but 1 is good. Ceasefire, excellent, very powerful burn card. Try timing the flip correctly, though, for your flip monsters. 2 copies of Magic Cylinder, stops attacks, deals major damage. 2 copies of Secret Barrel, it does good damage, and it and Book of Eclipse get together super well. And And last, we're running 3 copies of Waboku because it stops the attack and the damage and whatnot, but it still allows you to get your monsters flipped without having to summon them potentially into Solemn Warning. Although the good news is, even if you do have to flip summon on your own turn and they warn, that's essentially 2,000 damage you dealt. Pretty good deal. In terms of the extra deck, it's really very flexible. There's no way you can tune because you don't even run Monster Reborn and there are no main deck tuners, so you don't have to worry about synchro monsters in the slightest. I like Wind Up Zenmeister. This has to be 2 Dekoichis. It's the only way you can make it. But he can re-abuse your flips, which is cool. You can also run Steel Swarm Roach. He's good. There's also Utopia. You can use Leviathan Dragon. Even Grenosaurus, because he burns. So you might be able to use him to cheese out a good kill. Gachi Kintetsu, that's basically Morphing Jars or Masks right there. And Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon, just on the off chance you play a gadget player who actually leaves a Cyber Dragon and a bunch of gadgets out trying to like bum rush you or something, you can stall him out with that. Basically just fill up your extra deck with Xyz monsters. Pretty straightforward, and you can run like 2 copies of him, 2 to 3 of him. Just fill it up with stuff. The important thing is to have this guy at 4, probably a Roach. Grenosaurus and Leviathan are good choices, and maybe a Gentetsu. But the extra deck very rarely ever gets any use, so it's basically just there for show. So anyway, that's the new iteration of Bookburn, and it's a very good deck, definitely worth playing. Learn to play it well. It's an easy way to get an invite. So until next time, rate, comment, subscribe, and check out my channel for more cool videos.